to shift gears and go into our 3-minute thesis competition with our PhD students. And we'll start with Tal. And Tal is going to speak today on the road not taken and casual interference, or inference, sorry.
I had ice cream every week for a month, and I found that I gained 2 pounds. Here's a crossroad. There's me with ice cream going down the right lane. There's another me going down the left lane. That left me and the right me are exactly the same except one thing. The left me didn't have the ice cream. Yes, that's a hypothetical me. And if the ice cream indeed made me gain weight, then the left me should be 2 pounds lighter. So what if I hadn't had the ice cream? I wouldn't know the potential outcome because I didn't take the left road and the left me doesn't exist. This is the problem we face when we want to find causality. Nobody could travel both roads at the same time, and we only see the results of the choice we made at the crossroad. Why should we care about causality? Because it's needed for clearer policy implications. Would a school lunch program decrease teen crime rate? How does the access to prenatal care affect low birth weight? If we can understand factors that contribute to these results, then we can alter the environment by implementing a well-targeted policy. After all, we want to have a policy that works as intended, don't we? But to claim causality, we need to have two versions of us, two versions of identical teen with and without the school program, two identical versions of a mom with and without prenatal care. Outside a science lab, it's extremely difficult to find causality because we simply can't do controlled experiments with something that doesn't exist. But does that mean it's impossible? My research addresses this issue by directly drawing out what could have happened on the other road. The survey data we get in our hands is based on what happened. But we also need to know what would have happened if that person had not taken that road, all others being equal. My work is about building a statistical foundation on which I can bridge the gap between the road taken and the road not taken. That will bring the imaginary left me to life and put it next to my right me. I'm also developing a tool that will work easily under different settings, having different types of ice cream, different time at which I had my ice cream, having a crossroad in the mountains or in the forest. And I hope that that tool will lay a stepping stone, one step closer to making a more reliable policy suggestion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tal. I'm always amazed by how much great research our students are doing. So next we'll have Nayela, and Nayela is going to talk to us on the topic of there will be blood clots. I hope I gave that justice. Nayela, are you ready?
Yep, I am. All right. So when Alex Trebek was first diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, he went into jeopardy and he said, I am going to fight this. And with the help and support from my friends, fans, and family, I'm going to beat the low survival rates of this cancer. As much as I admired his honesty and his optimism back then, I'm going to be real honest with you. Pancreatic cancer straight up is a killer. While other cancers have seen drastic increase in survival rates, pancreatic cancer has been the one major cancer for which survival rates have been shockingly low for the past 40 years. It is made worse by the fact that we struggle with an early diagnosis. So by the time you know you have the cancer, it has spread to your vital organs, and at that point, it's pretty much a death sentence. Another reason why pancreatic cancer is so deadly is because it forms a lot of these blood clots, and it does so by using a molecule called thrombin. To understand how thrombin works, I'm going to bring your attention to these minions here. So this yellow minion guy, he's good. He's your friend. He will play with you. He will go to the playground with you. He does your homework. But then this compound comes in and it repurposes the good yellow guys into this evil purple minions. They are not your friend. They will rip apart your homework and they'll push you off the swing in the playground. They're just out of control. Under normal conditions, the thrombin is this yellow minion. You have a cut or an injury, the thrombin is gonna be like, all right, don't you worry, I'm gonna go over there and patch you up. Pancreatic cancer sees this and goes like, all right, you have a good system going on here. How do I mess this up and make this go really bad? This is what I'm looking at with my dissertation. So I'm looking at a pathway in which the pancreatic cancer uses this thrombin, feeds off of it, and grows. And at the same time, as it feeds off of it and grows, it makes new thrombin. This new thrombin are the purple minions. And as the number keeps growing, the thrombin that's coming from the cancer, it will see all this perfectly functioning blood vessels and it will be like, all right, I'm gonna go and clot them up. This rapidly becomes a case where the patient's life is drastically shortened from the cancer-related complications. With my project, I'm trying to look at the mechanism by which this happens, by which the pancreatic cancer grows, spreads, and forms new blood clots with the thrombin. Down the line, I'm also looking at new therapies that will, dare I say, curable. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Clap it up for these folks. You're doing an excellent job. We're going to move to our next presenter. Carmen. And so Carmen, let's see if I can get rid of the drawing. Let's see. There we go. All right, so Carmen is going to talk to us about serotonin in the brain, a new role for cholesterol precursors. Sorry, Carmen, let me get your slide up.
Everyone here has experienced a low mood at some point in time. Some people experience a high frequency of low moods, defined as depression. These individuals are given drugs that increase the released messenger serotonin in their brains. However, these drugs are only effective in 30% of individuals that take these drugs, indicating that we still don't fully understand the relationship between serotonin and mood regulation. We do understand that serotonin is regulated in the brain by being shuttled away from its site of activity and back into the cell for storage and use later on. It's shuttled by the protein Cert, otherwise known as the serotonin transporter. A unique feature of Cert is that it lies in close proximity to the fat called cholesterol. But what does cholesterol do to regulate Cert and serotonin shuttling? That was our first research question. To answer this question, we used a drug called statins to lower cholesterol in these cells. And then we looked at the effects on serotonin shuttling. We observed two main things. First, depleting cholesterol in the cells could increase serotonin shuttling 5-fold. Also, if we tried to reverse the effects of the cholesterol depletion by adding cholesterol back in, we could not reverse the effects. However, if we added back in lipid intermediates that are precursors to cholesterol, we could reverse the 5-fold change in shuttling. What do these results mean exactly? Well, if serotonin was being shuttled 5-fold more, then there wasn't very much serotonin available to signal and thus regulate mood. It also demonstrates that Cert could be regulated by lipid intermediates independent of cholesterol. Something really important about these findings include the fact that A variety of individuals take these statin drugs to lower their cholesterol. In fact, 1 in 4 adults. And there are adverse effects associated with these drugs, such as depression. Therefore, these results could provide a mechanistic explanation to the adverse effects associated with statin drugs. It also provides a new mechanism by which Cert can be regulated by lipid intermediates and serotonin in the brain can be regulated by lipid intermediates. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Good deal. So I'm going to move to our next presenter. Y'all clap it up. Yes. Awesome. Our next presenter is Tiara Dungy, and she's going to talk to us about generous generators, social responsibility, and racial identity among Black entrepreneurs in Johannesburg.
All right, I have to start my own clock here. Everybody ready? Start. So as Dr. Hardy said, my name is Tiara Dungy, and I'm a PhD student in the School of Philanthropy. My research is tentatively titled Generous Generators, Social Responsibility Among Black Entrepreneurs in South Africa. Now, while I'm speaking, keep in mind ATM, actions, transactions, and motivations. My dissertation research is focused on the case of an entrepreneurial movement started by young people frustrated by racism in the workplace at major corporations in Johannesburg, South Africa, looking for new ways to generate Black wealth while building better businesses with their families. The movement began as a chat among friends, grew into a Facebook group, then a casual meetup. Now it's a full ecosystem of support that backs Black entrepreneurs globally with access to markets and other business needs, as well as consults for the same companies the founders left to help them better embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sure, race is a figment of our imagination. But while it's not real in a scientific sense, the experience of racialized societies deeply influences the participants in my research, as well as the communities they serve. Actions, transactions, and motivations. The barrier between the entrepreneur and the enterprise can be unclear if it exists at all. This is especially apparent in the interaction between the entrepreneur's engagement with the wider community and what sense of responsibility they may feel to make it better. Despite growing mainstream acceptance of corporate social responsibility, as well as increased interest in social entrepreneurship, there are few academic considerations of entrepreneurial social responsibility, nor the influence of an entrepreneur's intersectional identities on how they leverage their enterprise for public good, actions, transactions, and motivations. The purpose of this research is to identify and examine emerging trends of entrepreneurial behavior with the lens of double consciousness, race and citizenship, as well as profit and social benefit, to identify patterns of behavior. This study represents a departure from existing literature on philanthropy and entrepreneurship to consider the interwoven nature of profit and progress for marginalized communities. It also adds to the growing literature from the margins about identity entrepreneurship, actions, transactions, and motivations. Thank you so much. I'm finished.
Yay. Awesome. Thanks so much, Tiara.
I didn't know how to end that. My bad, guys.
Good job. Good job. Sometimes just getting through it is half the battle, right? All right. So next, we have Danique Jengeli, and Danique is going to talk to us on the topic of pancreatic cancer cachexia for 800, Alex.
Hello, and welcome to Jeopardy, America's favorite question and answer game. Except today, I'll give the answers to the most asked question in my family, which is, when are you going to cure cancer? I research pancreatic cancer, which is the third leading cause of cancer-related deaths, with the greatest % average weight loss among other solid cancers. This weight loss is a characteristic of a disease known as cachexia. Cachexia is the involuntary loss of a patient's skeletal muscle, fat, and bone with disease. Here you see Alex Trebek, Aretha Franklin, and John Lewis, who recently passed away from pancreatic cancer. If you look at Aretha Franklin, you'll notice she appears to have sulking skin and prominent bones, which is characteristic of end-stage pancreatic cancer cachexia. 85% of pancreatic cancer patients will develop cachexia, which leads to muscle weakness, poor quality of life, and minimizes a patient's ability to function and can result in death. The major issue with cancer cachexia is that there are currently no approved therapies, and there are multiple mechanisms involved resulting in the overall impact of the disease. One area of complexity in cancer cachexia is chronic inflammation. Inflammation is the body's natural defense mechanism in response to disease. But in cancer cachexia, there is an increased demand for nutrients by the tumor and results in constant communication between tumor cells, immune cells, and muscle and fat tissues that robs the muscle and fat of their own nutrients and causes it to be weaker and thinner. One molecule, known as oncostatin M, is expressed during inflammation. Oncostatin M belongs to a family of other inflammatory molecules that drives inflammation and disease progression by binding to cell membrane-bound receptors, specifically oncostatin M receptor, and activating major cell signaling pathways. The role of oncostatin M in pancreatic cancer cachexia is not well known. We do know that high expression of oncostatin M receptor in patients with pancreatic cancer associates with poor overall survival. And I have shown that increasing the levels of oncostatin M in mice without cancer causes muscle and fat wasting. So my goal is to focus on the pancreatic cancer tumor microenvironment because the tumors comprise of a diverse group of cells that impact how tumors respond to drug treatment. My aim is to delete oncostatin M and oncostatin M receptor in mice and implant pancreatic tumor cells to determine how deleting oncostatin M would change the composition of the tumor and cachexia. I hope there is a reduction in the inflammatory response and decrease in minimal wasting in mice with deleted for oncostatin M compared to control mice and how we can relate these results to people. So going back to our initial question, cancer impacts the entire body and there's no effective therapy for cachexia. In fact, we are still learning all the drivers that play a role in cancer progression. But the more we understand cancer and cachexia, the closer we are to a cure. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danique. All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. So next we'll have Saley, and she's going to talk about glaucoma, the silent killer of sight.
Okay, I'll set my timer.
All right.
Okay, imagine that you are blindfolded and you have to go about doing the activities of your day. Or you get a beautiful present for your loved one and they are not able, and you cannot see the smile and the happiness on their face. Sounds terrifying, right? That's exactly what glaucoma patients have to go through every day in their life. And the worst part, initially there are no symptoms. But later, when there's substantial loss of cells, only then there is vision loss. And these cells don't regenerate as well. That's why glaucoma is called as the silent killer of sight. Now, what are these cells I'm talking about that tend to die off in glaucoma? These cells are called retinal ganglion cells, short form RGCs, that basically form the connection between the eye and the brain that help us to see. There are different ways that mess these cells up on the inside, such as genetic mutations, and on the outside, one of the factors is the barrier that guards these cells. This barrier is called as the inner blood retinal barrier, or IBRB. And my project is basically focused on this barrier. And the coolest part of this barrier is that the cells are derived from stem cells, the cells that can form any cell type of the body, ruling out species differences, and also showing direct disease correlation to humans. So the model is quite simple. Here in the middle, you can see RGCs in red, which are basically the stars of the project, put together with astrocytes in blue, which are more like housekeeping cells, maintaining the RGCs and also helping them mature faster. They're put at the base of this model, along with barrier-forming cells in pink at the top in a permeable membrane. These barrier cells are more like bouncers in a club, making sure who enters and who doesn't. We have two conditions. One is the healthy, where the bouncer basically makes sure the toxins are kept at bay. But whereas in the glaucoma, the bouncer is basically bribed, because of which the toxins enter anyway and the RGCs die off slowly and silently. Thus, we are successful in establishing a healthy and glaucoma barrier in a plate. For future studies, we'll be looking at how the cells of the barrier affect the RGCs and do morphological and functional studies. Hence, the barrier can be used as a disease model, basically to develop drugs that can eventually and gradually prevent blindness. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to give our judges about a 2-minute break because they're over there in a way and giving you guys some great feedback and great scores. Thank you so much, Saley. So give her a round of applause. And so I want to give you guys the opportunity real quick to learn a little bit about our PFFP program. It is a Preparing Future Faculty and Professionals program, and it is a free opportunity for you on this campus. And I really do hope that everyone takes the opportunity to become familiar with PFFP and to take advantage of some of the programming that we have going on. In the spring, we will do a series with our Center for Teaching and Learning, where we typically talk about the teaching presentations, writing your diversity statement, and doing your first teaching job talk. We'll also partner with the Mentoring Center and do a series on networking, CV and resume, and really preparing yourself for your next step. So take the time to think a little bit about our PFFP program. I'm going to drop the link to that, our page in the chat. I think I am. The other thing I want to let you guys know a little bit about is tonight we will have our Grad Geek Night. And Geek Night is just an opportunity for you to hang out with some people in a very low profile, low structure place. And I really do hope that folks attend. This is a collaboration that we have with IU Bloomington and those folks. And I really do think it's a great opportunity to be in a low structure place where you could just chat and socialize a little bit. And I know that some of us are in need of some social interaction right about now. So do take advantage of that. So I put into the chat the link for our PFFP program so you can learn a little bit more about PFFP, and it's a testimonial in the chat, right? And then Geek Night, and tonight's theme for Geek Night is gratitude. What are you thankful for, even in these pressing times? All right, so judges, how y'all doing? Y'all all right? Y'all need another minute? I can give you another minute. You good? Okay, awesome, fantastic. All right, so we're going to move on.
Amy's gone.
Uh-oh, did Amy leave?
Yeah, she got up for a second.
Okay, I think she's back. Oh no, she stepped away. We'll give her a minute to come back. Oh, here it, yes. Understood. All right, so we are going to slide right back into our competition. Let me share my screen with folks. And hasn't it been amazing so far? If you are not doing this, or if you're on the fence as to whether or not you should participate next time, we do hope that you're encouraged to participate today. Oh, oops. All right. And shout out to all of our fantastic presenters. So today, our next presenter is Anastasia And Anastasia is going to talk to us a little bit about psychological underpinnings of alumni giving. Anna, you ready?
Yes.
Right.
In the course of my university education, I have attended 4 universities, and IU is the 5th. But apart from IU, I have never given back to any of these institutions. And some may argue that the receipt of scholarship will promote giving. Well, I have received a full master's scholarship, but I have never given back to the university where I received it. So why should universities care about alumni giving? Alumni form the largest and the most permanent of the constituents of every educational institution. So you may be wondering, why do alumni give? Past research has identified, among other things, that income, college experiences, and alumni involvement all promote giving, but suggest that college experiences play the strongest role. Yet, research is here to investigate the psychological processes by which these college experiences promote giving. My pilot study on psychological processes that motivate giving examines the 3 psychological processes and their effect on alumni giving. This includes the feeling of gratitude, indebtedness, and sense of belonging. 446 participants who obtained US bachelor's degree were surveyed about their feelings of gratitude, indebtedness, and sense of belonging regarding their college experiences, and also their past donations and intentions to give back. The findings provide evidence that these 3 emotions matter. The feelings of gratitude, indebtedness, and sense of belonging are associated with why alumni give to their alma mater, with the strongest evidence found for the emotion of indebtedness. These findings highlight that institutions can leverage alumni giving by being intentional about the experiences that they create for current students who become alumni. Indeed, apart from the degrees they obtained, their college experiences, including the friends they made, the mentors they had, the sports they played, the groups they participated in, all prompt positive emotions. While some feel grateful about these experiences, others feel indebted about the experiences, and yet others develop a sense of belonging. These emotions become important triggers for alumni to look back and give back. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And just FYI, that is not Sporthy. That is Anastasia. She used Sporthy's link, which a lot of our students might have. If you want to rename yourself and not be me or Sporthy, you can go to participants and click on that. And then you should see a blue button that says more, and you can rename yourself there. Thank you so much, Anastasia. All right, next we have Dustin, and Dustin's going to talk to us on the topic of love to love you, baby.
Can you hear me okay?
It's a little muffled, Dustin.
I'll get a little closer. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's good. That's better. Thank you.
Okay. Images like this are becoming more common during this coronavirus pandemic. As the Kinsey Institute conducts research on how the coronavirus affects relationships, I would like to research how individuals are seeking help for love addiction, also called sexual addiction. And there are 3 reasons why my research is important. The first reason is that in 2022, there will be a new diagnosis called compulsive sexual behavior disorder that's going to be published in the ICD-11 manual. This is like a manual that professionals use to diagnose with patients. Because this is a new concept, many patients will have to disclose their information to healthcare professionals, and the healthcare professionals will need education on this topic. The second reason is that an estimated 28 million people struggle with sexual addictions such as pornography, prostitutes, and having multiple affairs. This includes people like you and me, but also well-known people like Tiger Woods, Charlie Sheen, David Duchovny, and many others. The third reason for my research why it's so important is so that we can understand what motivates individuals to seek help for their love and sex addiction, and also what delays their ability to seek help. Obviously, during this coronavirus time, treatment is limited and delayed for individuals because of social distancing. Providers are using webcams and FaceTime for virtual counseling. Considering that these electronic devices are also the same means for individuals to utilize for their sexual pleasure, such as watching porn or watching the webcams or using GPS apps for their partners, how do individuals feel about virtual therapy? For some, being on webcam fully clothed is a new concept or a new experience for them. So are patients being triggered or tempted to engage in sexual behaviors during Zoom meetings? We have heard a few examples of people being caught in the act during Zoom meetings during this pandemic. For my dissertation study, I will be asking qualitative questions to at least 20 individuals who self-identify as having love or sex addiction. My sample will come from men of all sexual orientations that attend groups such as Sex Addicts Anonymous. Information obtained during my dissertation study will help to provide insight to healthcare providers, marriage and family therapists, clergy, and many other mental health professionals.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dustin. Lots to think about there. Wow. All right. Next, we have Latasha Rowley, and she'll talk to us about the power of leading with purpose.
When we think of a leader in this country, what image comes to mind? Well, for many of us, because of our childhood socialization, social media images, and stereotypical biases, we may think of a leader as a middle-aged white male who is a CEO leading a large corporation. However, today I am going to share a different story about leadership where the leaders in my study use their acts of hope and love to build a brighter future for other people. I'm a researcher, scholar, and activist, but most importantly, I am a grandmother who is a leader. And my research explores the lived experiences of other grandmother leaders who have chosen, I use the word chosen because they are leaders, chosen to take on the role of primary caregiver for their grandchildren. There are 2.6 million grandparents raising grandchildren in this country due to an increase in societal problems such as child abuse, neglect, drug abuse, mental illness, violence, teen pregnancy, poverty, unemployment, female incarceration, and unfortunately, in some cases, premature death of a parent. I'm in the early stages of my critical ethnographic study, conducting interviews where I'm exploring grandmothers' stories about their challenges and struggles of isolation, trauma, health issues, financial and legal battles, while also exploring their leadership stories that provide them with the joy, reward, and satisfaction in giving their grandchildren a healing power of love. The grandmothers in my study are servant leaders whose leadership positively transform family crisis situations by molding and shaping the social, educational, physical, emotional, and spiritual lives of their grandchildren. My theoretical frame of Africana womanism focuses on family-centeredness and spirituality, which are foundational for grandmother leaders who are striving to keep their families together. They willingly sacrifice their own interests as they serve with love in providing a safe and secure home environment for their grandchildren, which prevents a negative ripple effect in our society, making this world a better and brighter place for their grandchildren. The power of these grandmothers is leading and healing with love and purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Latasha. Awesome. All right. Next, we're going to move to Vali, and Vali is going to talk about blockchain network towards a smarter, towards a smarter, it just wants to go. So I'm going to let her have it. Sorry, Vali. Towards a smarter communication. Got it. All right.
Thank you so much. So, trust. It's a beautiful gift, the greatest gift one can earn. Likewise, communication is how we connect. Let's take this competition. One of the key features that this competition tests is effective communication. So just imagine the combination of trust and effective communication. How many wonders it can make. This combination works not only for humans, but also for smart machines like AI. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about blockchain network towards a smarter communication. My research focuses on enabling blockchain to create a trustworthy environment. For example, self-driving vehicles. It needs to have a trustful flow of communication among themselves for safe environment. If a vehicle is hacked, it will create a complete mayhem. So that's where the blockchain comes into play. So what is a blockchain? Blockchain is just like an Excel sheet where you store and record data, but it has an advantage over Excel in the way that the data once entered on blockchain cannot be hacked. But here is a trick. You can't simply record a data in blockchain. You need to solve a mathematical puzzle. This process is called mining, and the people who solve this problem are called as miners. This requires a very high computational power, which is the ability to solve this mathematical puzzle in the quickest time possible. In the near future, we will have self-driving vehicles around us. It means hundreds of sensors and thousands of terabytes amount of data. And this data needs to be secured via blockchain for a proper secured communication. But is our current blockchain efficient enough to handle this traffic? The answer is no. So my research tries to come up with an efficient way to determine influential miners to handle this traffic. Like in social media where you have a popularity factor depending on number of followers. Similarly, in the blockchain network, we determine influential miners by two criteria, their computational power and the number of connections they have. By determining these influential miners and involving them predominantly in the process of mining, data can be recorded in the blockchain network more efficiently and promptly. This brings us back to the original concept that a machine needs to earn trust for secure communication, and my research does that by deploying blockchain. If you can see the visual on the right side, blockchain creates a trustful environment either between two self-driving vehicles or between human and vehicle. Thus, my research will impact the future by heralding a new pathway of 100% foolproof, secured, as well as faster communication in the self-driving vehicular network. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vali. Our presenters are just doing a fantastic job and just knocking it out of the park. So I'm super excited for all of these presentations. So our last presentation is going to be from Elise Smith, and she's going to talk about seeing beyond the body, dismantling negative narratives on fat bodies.
Have you ever looked at your body and wondered if it would command enough attention that it may lead to discrimination, manipulation, and misrepresentation? The life of Satarji Bartman, dubbed as the Hottentot Venus, experienced this as her life was displayed on European stages in the early 1800s due to her large frame. Colonizers saw her body as entertainment, which ultimately led to her demise. As a third-year doctoral student, I deepened my understanding of her experiences to challenge the narratives of fat Black female bodies. In a society that defaults to Eurocentric beauty standards, the aforementioned identities are often associated with failure. How many times have you turned on the television or scrolled social media to see a bigger body mocked? the use of fat suits, the gross misrepresentation of abilities as fat bodies are deemed incompetent, unattractive, and a failure to the definition of a healthy body. In my work, I aim to create a sense of belonging that Rosenberg and McCullough defines as a feeling of connectedness. Simply put, this is an individual's feeling of being important or mattering to others. In doing so, I created the brand's Fatness Fiction and the podcast titled Plus Size Magic Radio as restorative healing spaces to amplify the voices of bodies that have been told they are incorrect. Growing up, I avoided being expressive due to the fear of being called fat. I chose school as my drug of choice to prevent individuals from questioning if I am valuable based on the stigma society places on my intersecting identities. I cannot walk into a room separate from my gender, my Blackness, or fatness. I am currently writing a book titled The Fat Scholar to unpack the experiences of those in academia who experience discrimination due to size, trying to perform thinness in order to be heard. I fold my public scholarship into the academy as a way to dismantle the negative narratives around race, gender, sexuality, and the emerging social justice topic of body image and size. In my work, it is important that I use frameworks of Black feminism and critical race theory. I employ storytelling tenets from critical race theory as it empowers marginalized voices by uplifting and centering their narratives. In my experiences as a fat body, many times I am met with concerns about my health without anyone knowing that my size does not impact it. Their concerns are rooted in vanity. I am here to remind the general public that not every fat body is unhealthy, nor is there an ailment that only occupies fat bodies. I advocate for those who have been silenced before their story is even heard. My work centers experiences of those who have been told their bodies are not enough. For those who continue to seek community when the world tried to define them without taking into consideration holistically, I am not anti-body, I am pro-body. Again, I propose to you, what if the intersections of your gender, race, and size played a role in your daily experiences and was deeply connected to the historical mistreatment of who you are? I remind you, your body is enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Elise.